Time to shoot another video. Time to shoot another video. What's up, y'all? It's your boy Watching Me Ballin'. We back with another video. I pretty much got a million bajillion requests to do something about color grading, so that's exactly what we're doing today. And I'm not gonna waste too much of your time. I'm definitely gonna try to make it as quick as possible. You know, just to try to pack the video full as much value as we can, and then let you get back to your families on this beautiful day. I'm gonna try to keep the lights on for this video so that way you guys can see me and I can kind of cut back and forth between me and the screen. But there's a huge possibility that I'll end up turning all of this off, because when you're color grading, you definitely don't want it to be this bright. Like, you kind of want to set yourself up for success. You don't want, you know, too many things distracting you from the actual output of your monitor. Your monitor is gonna send out signals to your brain and your eyes for very specific colors and color receptors, but with this blue light and this big giant softbox over me, it kind of distracts and deflects from the different things that I would normally be able to see and how well I would normally be able to color grade. All right, now on the computer we have the beautiful Miss Lisette. We actually did a shoot with her the other day. We went out to Sweetwater Creek and, hold on, wait, where is he at? Shout out to Lil Bro, because he's been yelling at me because I keep calling it like Salt Lake Creek or Salt Bath, something. I keep calling it the mountains. So we went out there to the mountains and we shot with her, and we got some amazing shots with the sun like peeking through the trees and just a bunch of different nature-ish type of stuff. And we allowed her to do her thing, which is called ISO. And it's like a different version of stretching. And I think that guy right there, yeah, he's famous on TikTok. So what we're gonna do from here is actually color grade these 3 clips. And I picked these 3 clips especially because the first clip is kind of the perfect scenario. You got beautiful lighting, it's backlit, it kind of washed over the image. It's just perfect. Like, we probably aren't gonna have to do much work to bring this image to life. But the second one, we kind of got our white balance a little cold. Even though it was right for the environment, it still kind of made our skin tones not desirable. And then the third one, it is the nuclear. It's getting hit directly by a direct sun, super bright, super harsh. So we're gonna have to pull out some tricks to really like get that one to sing for us. Jeez, Trey, why are you texting me during the video? Shout out to my boy Trey Marquise, man. He's really been doing this thing on videos and I'm super proud of him. All right, now back into the program. The first thing that you really wanna do is you wanna go to create a new item and make a adjustment layer. For me, I normally drag my adjustment layer over to the timeline and I put it over all 3 clips, and then I make 3 stacks of it. The reason I like to do this is because each stack kind of happens in a certain order. So if I'm doing something to this stack here in the middle, it'll affect it before this top stack affects it. And then if I do something down at the bottom, it affects it before all of these 2 stacks affect it. You also have the option to do something directly on the clip, which I try to avoid and do it more on adjustment layers, but sometimes it is very necessary for me to come over here and do it directly on the clip. So let's start with the easy one. For me, I like to shoot Sony, and I shoot S-Log 2. And if you don't know anything about log, maybe I should do a full video kind of breaking it down, because it is a pretty advanced subject. But basically, log allows your camera to capture as much data as it can in the highlights and the shadows. Most information you can in the highlights and the shadows. And log is awesome, okay? Use log. Because I like to shoot Sony, I actually use the recommended Sony LUT to convert it into Rec. 709. And if you're anything like me, you have a giant LUT folder. The LUT I like to use is the Sony Rec. 709 Type A. And boom! Right out the gate, that footage already looks so much better. Before, after. Before, after. But that's nowhere near where we want to get it to. That's just a starting point. I come over here, I switch to my scopes. These are the 2 scopes I use to edit my videos and get the perfect amount of color, saturation, and contrast every time. Speaking of that, contrast is the first thing we do. We click on the last adjustment layer and then go to basic correction. You want to bring the saturation all the way down. This allows you to only see the luminance of the image. First thing I like to do is bring the blacks down, see if I can get some nice black out of it. Next thing I like to do is kind of push the lights, but I actually think this one looks better when you pull it down. The image overall is kind of overexposed, so I would probably bring it down a bit, and then I would play around with these highlights and shadows. Once you get to a place that you're really happy with the contrast that you've put into your image, just move on. No, but a cool thing to identify is that skin tones are normally between, 60, if you're really dark skinned, then they might fall in 50, but really 60 to 70 IRE. And IRE is just basically the level that is used to read the brightest and darkest parts of your image. Pretty much every part, because we can see that this tree over here falls in this area and it's about 60 with some peaks and highs. And then her skin and hair are all up here, her skin being here. And you kind of just got that different variety. This circle wheel here actually tells us about how accurate our colors are and also how saturated our colors are. And because we have it black and white right now, everything is in the middle. Okay, so this is before our contrast, this is after. Before, after. We're already getting on a good track. So let's switch back up. Now we're on adjustment layer 2, and what I like to do is add saturation. Boom. We took it from 100 to 125. And sometimes in some cases you may want to add more saturation. Me personally, I'm not a huge fan of overly saturated images. If I was, I would shoot Canon. But I'm not. So I actually prefer to keep my images mildly saturated. After I do my saturation, sometimes I like to get really nitpicky and I'll zoom in a little bit more, like that. So yeah, I would probably add just a taint of warmth, just because I want her skin to be really nice and golden. And then I would bring a little bit of the green back in, and I would push and pull here to find a happy medium. And once I was happy, I would pretty much just leave it there. And this is kind of the color correction part. So you go from 0, flat, add your look plus some saturation, also have a little bit of fix in the white balance area. Then you add your contrast, and that kind of sets your levels. Now you go to the top layer, and the top layer is gonna be different than all the other layers because this is where you're gonna put your look. In order to do my look, I normally come to the color wheels, and this allows me to have a separation between the shadows, midtones, and highlights. In the shadows, I like to go for cooler tones. So maybe a blue, over a little bit of cyan, even green. Let's just say we go wild oaks with this one. Let's make it a little green. Then I go over to the midtones. Midtones, I'm pumping up some of that warmth, but it's gonna be on the line. It may be a mix between green and warmth. Like right now, we're really facing towards a little bit of yellow. And I'm liking that. I'm liking that a lot. I never try to push my images too much. I pretty much practice that if you want it to look a certain way, try to do it on the spot in the moment. Correct your white balance, correct whatever you need to fix to kind of get the look that you're going for. So in this last part, I will go to highlights, and on my highlights, I'm just pushing. I would try to push around first and play with it for sure. There's absolutely nothing wrong with finding your way. She looks so serious. Like, hurry up and color grade me. I love that. That looks so good. All right, after I get done with my color wheels, I normally go back up to curves. And now I add the final touches to kind of make the image sing a little bit. Starting in the hue and hue, I make points to isolate all the colors from each other. First color I normally attack after that is the skin tone. Bringing the oranges up to a level that I feel like is good, and bringing the reds down just ever so slightly. And you can use this over here to identify what's the right tone for skin. And right now mine's a little bit off. It'll also tell you what the right tone for red is, and magenta, and blue, and cyan, and green, and yellow. And you want to make it look like they have blood in their skin. I remember when I first started color grading, that was something that I would always kind of leave out. But you don't want to leave that out. It's very important. I normally like to take my purples to a little more blue and kind of section off the image. I like to make my blues a little more cyan, and I like to make my cyans a little more cyan. Depending on the image is kind of where I put my green. Sometimes they go more yellow, sometimes they go more blue. I'm very particular about my yellows, oranges, and reds though, because they make up the skin tone. And it was very subtle. We very subtly affected this. For this part, what I would do is bring down this area, because I don't want this to be as saturated as her. And then I would bring the saturation up starting here. And that just gives us a little bit more pop in her skin. Now that we are getting closer to the end, I always like to, I don't always do anything. I pretty much let the image breathe. Like I let it tell me what it needs and what it wants. If I think that it needs something specific, I'll do it. And if it doesn't, because I'm just happy with what I see, I don't. On this last part, I go to Luma versus Sat, and I bring it down at the very end because I don't want my shadows, my dark shadows to be contaminated. And then I'll probably bring it over just a bit. So this is before, after, and we still ain't done. So on this last part, now that we're at the end, I normally like to desaturate it one more time and really push my contrast levels. This is where I'm trying to make the image sing. And you'll hear me say that a lot. That's because I like making images sing. I like to add the little lift at the end of the tail, kind of give me that new school Instagram look. Especially with a shot like this where the sun is hitting directly into the lens, there's probably not gonna be any spots that are like complete black. All right, with that corrected, we turn the saturation back up. And if you did everything right, you should have a pretty nice looking image. So let's do a batch before and after. So this is before, and this is after. Hopefully I did pretty good because I color graded all of this with the lights on. I appreciate everybody for watching, and if you did enjoy this video, consider subscribing or hitting that like, thumbs up button. That definitely helps me out and helps out the channel. I'll probably be dropping more videos later on this week, and if not, I'll be definitely dropping some more videos coming into the new year. You guys have a good one, and peace.